What's up? It's me. I'm a little exhausted right now. I actually recorded this one a while ago, but I didn't quite get the recording right, so I just said, fuck it, and I'm re-recording it, of course. As you can tell, this is going to be an HW video. It's a bit different, but, I mean, I kind of wanted to branch out, so I figured, why the hell not? Rage 2 is a fun game that makes you feel like garbage. Rage 2 uses my birth defect as a crude shorthand for mutant freak. By Chris Plante. Now, if you don't know, in the game Rage and Rage 2, you have to fight mutants. Like, there are mutants in the game because it's a post-apocalyptic world, although it's about an asteroid crashing into the world. I don't know how that would cause mutations, but whatever. Let's just go on ahead and read this thing. Every time I begin to enjoy Rage 2, it finds a new way to treat me like shit. There's a lot of individual bits I've liked in Bethesda's new post-apocalyptic shooter, created by the open-world geniuses at Avalanche Studios, and the gunplay experts at id Software. And I have no doubt we will be unpacking what makes its open world click in the coming days, if not weeks, but never has a game so personally directly bummed me out. Oh, goody. Just because the developer listens doesn't mean they hear us. Last summer, I had a chance to talk with id Software studio director Tim Willits about Rage 2. After a relatively straightforward interview running through the game's grab bag of inspirations, the conversation shifted to something more personal. My birth defect, and how the game presents it as a crude joke. I am not kidding. He compares himself to this thing. He looks nothing like that thing as far as I know. He's probably some skinny guy, unless he's really fat, which let's face it, he probably is. I don't even know what's his name, Chris Plante. I don't know what he looks like. I don't even know who the fuck this guy is. Not a very good first impression. Rage 2's publisher, Bethesda, had just revealed a 119 collector's edition that would come with a talking robotic bust of Ruckus the Crusher, one of the game's many Goliath mutants. Like all other Crushers in the game, Ruckus had a gash running from the top of its upper lip through his nose, as if its face didn't fully form at birth. There's a lot more wrong with his face than that. I'm just saying, that's really bad. That's a really bad comparison to someone like... And he's focusing entirely on the cleft lip, in case you're wondering. Cleft palate. Like, he's focusing entirely on cleft palate instead of the horribly deformed skin, the face, the horribly deformed eyes, which look really beady. The fact that this thing, look at this thing again. It's clearly not healthy. It looks like it could die at any moment. It's in pain. The cleft lip is the least of that thing's concern. But he's he's basically saying that it's insulting that the mutants have cleft palate. So I guess what I'm getting from this is that he's saying that people with cleft palate look like this somehow, which comes off as it comes off as way more insulting than what he's saying that Bethesda's doing. But let's continue. The mutation I explained to Willits looks like an exaggerated cleft lip and cleft palate. The original Rage used similar imagery for its mutants, and I told Willits how disappointed I felt to see the sequel following that same path. Fiction has long associated clefts with both villainy and mental health disorders, and it appeared the Rage franchise would perpetuate this cruel, damaging misrepresentation. When has cleft palate been used as a symbol for mental illness? Are you talking about mental? I mean, I'm pretty certain. In terms of villainy, let's start with that one. In most villains, the Wicked Witch in Snow White, yeah, she's missing a lot of teeth. In fact, most horrible villains generally miss teeth. They don't usually have cleft palate. I can't think of a single villain that has cleft palate. Like, what kind of person says this? I have no idea. It's fucking stupid. It's really fucking stupid. Um, and mental health disorders, I don't know about that. I mean, I guess I can use this as an example. Initially, the APA considered homosexuals to be mentally ill, but they took that off. I mean, that's just an instance of something changing connotation throughout the years or classification or whatever. And I don't remember Cleft Palate ever being associated with mental health and villainy. I mean, and plus, in all honesty, who hasn't wanted to be a villain of a story or a hero or both? I mean, I'm pretty certain I know lots of great people who wouldn't mind being the villain of their own story. It's something that this guy just fucking ignores all of the time. But it gets worse. And it appeared the Rage franchise would perpetuate this cruel, damaging misrepresentation to a broad audience. Okay. How is this cruel exactly? I mean, that's like offense. That's not even like that doesn't look like a human being. It looks like a gorilla more so. And I have to keep pointing back to the image. Again, it doesn't look much like a human being outside of a few features. It looks more like a really retarded version of a Hulk, but I mean, this guy is not particularly smart. Willits, to his credit, was receptive to the feedback. Here is the relevant portion of our interview. Tim Willits. So, it's a little insensitive. Plante. Yeah, it makes me a little uncomfortable when it's always the bad guys that have the upper lip and nose removed effectively. Willits. I know I never really thought of that. I mean, we try to make, Kenneth Scott was our art director on Rage 1, and yeah, I mean, I kind of feel bad now, but sometimes it's hard when you don't live in that world. So you're like, oh, guys, so I apologize. And yeah, I'll talk to the guys. Plante. Sure, are mutations normal for heroes, too, in this version of the game? It's mostly the bad guys, but we do have some heroes in Rage 2 are not as pretty as the heroes in Rage 1. Someone did not like the Girls of Rage 2 posters and stuff, so we are trying to be a little more balanced, and the Avalanche guys have been very good about being a little more sensitive, so I do think we have a better chance, or better balance. Alright, so basically Willis said is that, like, yeah, some of the mutants are good guys, there's nothing wrong with that, although, in all honesty, you don't really see people with Cleft Palate most of the time. It's not usually something that's brought up in games because it's not a very common condition. But, at the same time, this whole thing comes off to me as being very retarded, simply due to the fact that his biggest complaint with these things is the fact that they have cleft palate, but yet he doesn't mention the fact that they have giant bulbous heads or freaky eyes or really bad hair. Like, that could be offensive to, like, fat people, people with microcephaly, or people who are just fat. I mean, it's like the cleft palate is the least of those things as concerns, in all honesty. And it's not even being offensive. I mean, these two are fucking heroes in the game, as far as I know, so I mean, hell, the guy, I think the last I checked, the villain was like a cyborg or something, so yeah. I mean, you're making, you say you look like this. If you look like this, the cleft palate is really, it doesn't even have cleft palate. Like, look at its nose. It's like its teeth are perfectly normal. Alright, I'm gonna continue. I've now played a significant amount of Rage 2, and I have to wonder if Willits forgot how to have that conversation, or if that conversation was it closer to cost-benefit analysis? Will enough potential players be upset to warrant the investment in improving these character designs? No, they will not. Nobody cares. It's a video game. Everyone... It's like South Park. Everybody, and I mean everybody, gets made fun of. So, what is the complaint? I can now say, certainly, that the Avalanche guys have not been very good about being a little more sensitive, or perhaps Willits meant a little more in a literal sense, as they have made the smallest effort. Rage 2's use of cleft lip and palate imagery in the final game is worse than expected, and certainly worse than its predecessor. How? I already mentioned the Crushers, who are both recurring bosses and environmental hazards, each of them with an identical facial design. Okay. But how is it worse than Rage 1? Okay, I'm asking. How is it worse than Rage 1? You tell me. I made peace with the Crusher design months ago. Then why does it fucking matter? I hate it. It's awful. But I understand the crass reality of it all. Long before last summer, Bethesda leadership felt that Crusher could be for Rage. That's what the silly claptrap is for Borderlands. A clear inspiration for the series, a mascot of sorts, a visual icon for the entire series. They'd already greenlit that crummy, big-mouthed Billy Bass knockoff collector's edition. The die was cast. What does this matter at the end of the day? You're complaining about nothing. I'm pretty certain. I don't even think this guy still has cleft palate. Like, in all honesty, if you're this angry at your game having cleft palate, you're fucking retarded. Like, there's more, I mean, there's, like, more important things to worry about, like, game-breaking bugs. Alright. And besides, I thought before diving into Rage 2, how many times could they use this cleft imagery in one game? It's the same fucking model. It's not meant to offend anybody. A lot, it turns out. The cleft is used with such frequency that it feels like a visual cue. The exaggerated cleft signifies the most mutated of mutants. He shoots himself in the face later with this. The exaggerated cleft signifies the most mutated of mutants, subhuman beasts that are caged, ridden like horses, or mounted like animals. Early in the game, I met a scientist running a humanoid beast. The creature also has a cleft lip. This one less exaggerated. More like my own at birth. The creature is covered in its own drool, a straw hanging from its mouth. There's a certain Total Recall Kuato shtick going on here. Before the scientist and the creature, but when it is clear. The beast is meant to be a freak. The intention is for every player to be repulsed. How? Exactly? If this guy's the good guy, then I guess he's the good guy. He's your best bud. On some level, Woods told the truth when we last spoke. The good characters aren't as pretty as they were in the original Rage. The most women in the game easily fall within the realm, but their designs aren't thoughtful or interesting either. The artists depict a spectrum of weight and age with the grace of a Mad magazine cover. And I guess that's his example for it, but, I mean, it's a sequel to the game. Of course they're going to be older and fatter and balder, because, well, it's a sequel to a game, which, if I remember correctly, Rage 2 takes place 5 years after Rage 1, or 10 years? Something around the lines, but, I mean, it's a sequel. That's really the last thing you should be talking about, and comparing the two, and comparing people not looking as pretty to a bunch of ugly mutants is kind of stupid. That there's a little bit of sexism going on here. Just saying. There's a lopsided consistency to the world. The better the character, the more traditional their beauty. You just said that some of the mutants are good guys. The sketchier the character, the more deformed, obviously. There are rare exceptions, okay. But by and large, the good characters aren't mutated. Most human characters look like essential casting actors and actresses in post-apocalypse makeup. A little dust here and there. You just said they were You just said they depicted the spectrum of weight and age with the grace of a Mad magazine cover. So basically, you just said that women. You're really showing your sexism here, aren't you? All right. When I spoke to When I spoke to Willits last summer, I came away from the conversation optimistic. Here's what I wrote a few hours after that meeting. I recognize I have the rare opportunity to actually speak to creators in person. There isn't a better means for other people outside my position to have this experience, and I recognize that people of other backgrounds have for decades had to play games that treat them as targets. No one... Okay, how many games feature killing people exactly that are mentally handicapped? I mean, in Grand Theft Auto, there's no competition. In fact, normal people get killed in this thing. People who don't have the mutations, like, you're killing normal people most of the time in Rage 2, as far as I know. So, that just raises further questions. And they still do, but for a moment I felt a surge of optimism. If developers can be open, if they can make efforts to find other voices rather than wait for those voices to come to them, then everyone could feel welcome to play the hero rather than be forced to play Spot as the no. How many people... tell me in the comments section how many of you guys would mind playing the villain. That optimism is gone. I suspect there could be other game character that serves as a counterpoint. That's the Crushers have hearts of gold and have been weaponized by humans. There's some text log hidden in the world that explains the designer's good intentions, but that seems like it can last another dozen hours in a wasteland that makes me miserable. Well, then that just disproves your fucking point. It makes you look fucking lazy. Midway through my time with Rage 2, I sprint through a sticky nightclub. One of those forgettable video game environments that transitions the player from one big action set piece to the next. It's sort of generic area you see the art asset on the wall a half dozen times because the space isn't a huge priority. Doesn't look too bad. It's got a weird nose. It's not really... I don't think it has cleft palate. Oh, it does. Yeah, that thing definitely has some cleft palate going on there. But if it has cleft palate, then it's not the most mutated ones, and that was the one I was talking about earlier. It has cleft palate, but it's the least mutated mutant out of all of them, but it's got a head problem. But that's kind of the thing. It's like, he just shot himself in the foot. He went from saying... the exaggerated cleft signifies the most mutated mutants to showing this thing. You just shot yourself in the foot, pal. On its wall, instead of posters, hang a series of identical mutant busts, all with the same exaggerated cleft. This isn't a Crusher or the scientist's beast, and the asset, while custom, is not central to the game. Then why are you complaining? Now, I'm no expert in game design, but I feel confident saying these busts could have been removed with minimal time and effort. Yeah, if you want to get a textureless error sign. It wouldn't have required canceling pre-orders, delaying the development, or halting production or novelty specialty editions. I'm a Doom modder. I know that takes a while to get rid of those things because you have to look all over the map. But here it is anyway. Another mutant with a cleft, letting me know one is truly subhuman. So far, the other humans that it can be mounted like a hunted animal. Okay, what is he trying to advocate this time? Is he trying to advocate that people are trying to kill handicapped people now? Because that's fucking stupid. It adds the teeniest environmental flavor for some players, but makes others feel like absolute trash. So much for a little more sensitivity. Okay, let me get this straight. So basically, this guy is saying that Bethesda somehow wants to kill... by the end of that, I kind of get the impression that he's saying that Bethesda is giving the message that people with cleft palates should be killed. Which, no, mutants are... I mean, you could say mutants have autism or something, and I have autism, so it's kind of... And I'm using this as an example, or like, it's another example, like, I guess I'll go back to... In a lot of games, you get to kill a lot of Mexicans, and I'm part Mexican. I'm not really offended by that, because you're usually killing cartel members who are, you know, obvious bad guys from the beginning. Or, or in a lot of modern military shooters, you're going around killing terrorists who are obviously bad people. Like, you're killing mutants. Mutants are not people. They are not you. If you're comparing yourself to a mutant, you must have very big sensitivity issues when you're saying you look like this. Like that's impressive. Heck, this is disappointing. Just voicing my support for yours and others' feelings around this. Chris, thanks for following up on this. Oh my god. Alright, let's see here. Yeah, this article is just him going back and forth trying to find something to complain about because he's that insensitive. It's like you can't be bothered to play the game. You're too offended by cleft lip to even enjoy the game, even though most of what you're killing are humans. Let's ignore that entirely and complain about the damn cleft lip you'll probably barely see. Plus, I don't even, as far as I know, not all the mutants even have cleft lip either. That's as far as I know. So I basically get the feeling that this guy is taking the whole issue out of context, and even Bethesda said like Bethesda doesn't really care too much because at the end of the day, it doesn't fucking matter. I don't think most people who have had cleft lip really care because cleft lip can be cured. There's surgery to fix it. At this point, telling people to feel literally, people who have cleft lip can get and there are people going around the world helping people in third world countries get rid of their cleft lip so they can live normal lives and be good and be functioning members of society and be able to drink and eat and all that. So basically, it's a thing that's curable. So at that point, complaining about having them insulting people with cleft lip is stupid because I don't even think this guy still has it. Like, that's what gets me. If he does still have it, I'm surprised he hasn't gotten a surgery to fix it. But at the end of the day, it's complaining about nothing. And no, I haven't played Rage 2, so I can't say 100% for certain. I could probably go look up a walkthrough. By the end of the day, most of the characters are human. I know that much. The guy you're fighting is a cyborg, so what? Is that intentionally trying? The main villain is a cyborg, so is that intentionally trying to? So is Bethesda intentionally trying to insult people with pacemakers? Is that what's going on here? Because that sounds like what's going on here. Oh god, what a bummer. Between this, Bethesda tax rebuffs of the press, and Bethesda's list of misuse over the past couple years, I will definitely be voting with my wallet on this one. Hard pass. This is dumb. It's all just a bunch of chicken. The people in the comment section of this article are a bunch of chicken firmists, and that's no lie. Like, at this point, it's just an unnecessary outrage. That's all it is. I mean, that's basically what we've been reduced to. In fact, a lot of the time, I just see nothing but manufactured outrage. and Kotaku's and a lot of the mainstream gaming and news media websites have been pretty much fostering this kind of crap, which spread to other people. And I've seen independent content creators do something similar. I mean, stuff like this is just kind of something you kind of have to look at and laugh at because it's wonderful. In its sort of weird, bizarre way, because this guy just made a fool out of himself. At the end of the day, Bethesda's not trying to insult people with cleft lip. They're not saying go out and kill people with cleft lip. They're not saying any of that at all, and quite honestly, the mutants in the game have much bigger problems than cleft lip, because some of them are probably... I mean, most mutants in games are not particularly smart anyways. I mean, I guess... It's like... I just don't understand what this guy's problem is, and I probably never will. Well, I understand what his problem is, though, but it's like, dude, it's so minuscule, though. And I doubt people who have actually had the surgery to fix their cleft lip would really care. The people who have cleft lip wouldn't care, because, I mean, most people who have cleft lip live in third world countries. They don't have access to this kind of surgery, so they're more interested in staying alive. They don't care about Bethesda. They don't care. They're more interested in trying to keep themselves alive and keeping themselves from getting sent to gulag or malaria or whatever. It's like, it's such a minuscule thing to complain about, but people complain about it anyways. It's just dumb. I think I've pretty much said everything I need to say about it, but I want to know, what do you guys think about this? Do you like it? Did you like what I did here? Do you think this is dumb? Do you think he has a point? What do you guys think? Leave it down in the comments below, and please like and share this video if you will.